So I have the pleasure to present Nicholas Moropoulos, civil engineer and project manager, uh, specialized in informatics as well, who is going to present the governance and the management of the Holy Edicule Rehabilitation project, since he was on site the project manager. Nicholas, you are having the floor.
Hello everyone. I hope you can hear me. I will spend the next 30 to 35 minutes sharing with you the highlights of what we did in the governance and project management area of the project. Please feel free to ask any questions you might have. I trust you can see the presentation that I have prepared. Can you see it? I don't hear anything. Can you see the presentation?
Nikos, we hear you very well.
Okay, but can you see the presentation?
Yes, we can see, but you are in the first page now.
Okay. Yes, I know I haven't started yet. I just want to make sure that everything is okay.
Yes, you are viewing this. Thank you.
Okay. So let's start with the foundation of the project. The foundation of the project was a common agreement that was signed on the 22nd of March 2016. And the signees were the three status quo communities, the Catholic, Armenian, and Orthodox communities, represented by the Patriarch Theophilos III, by Father Per Batista Pizzaballa, and the Archbishop Nurhan Manugyan. And as you may know, the status quo is the legal framework that is valid in the Holy Sepulchre Church since 1852. And it gives to the three communities all the rules for sharing the space, organizing their services, and this was the framework for the common agreement that enabled the project to take place. In addition to the three communities, which of course were the sponsors and the owners of the project, I would like to introduce a major stakeholder of the project, the World Monuments Fund, WMF, based in New York in the United States of America. And this is an organization, it's a non-profit organization that funds World Heritage projects all over the world. And we had the benefit of working with Lisa Arkeman, Bonnie Burnham, Father Alex Carluchos, and Yannis Avramidis. They all participated in the project in different capacities, and they gave us a lot of their expertise and their support. And this is related to the major sponsor of the project, the Mika Ertegun Fund for the Preservation of Religious Heritage. The fund donated $1,100,000 US, and practically with this donation kickstarted the project. Needless to say, without this incredibly generous donation from the Mika Ertegun Fund, the project would not have taken place. In addition, and this completes the presentation of the major stakeholders of the project, we were extremely happy and lucky to work with National Geographic Society, based in Washington, in the United States of America. And they were our publicity consultants, and they gave all the necessary publicity to the project. And they were led by Frederick Hibbert, the archaeologist in residence of the National Geographic Society, Christine Romy, editor and writer, Catherine Keane, vice president of exhibitions, who then organized in 2017 a major exhibition in Washington, D.C. Gary Nell, president and CEO, and Jean Case, chairman of the board of trustees. The role of the National Geographic Society in the project was extremely important, and I will explain later why. So, having seen who were the sponsors and the major stakeholders of the project, I would like to share with you the timeline, just to give you the key milestones. The agreement was signed in March 2016. The project team was in place in June 2016, and the critical, crucial agreement with the World Monuments Fund was signed in July 2016. And this agreement enabled the funding of the project with the funds made available by the Mika Erdogan Fund, as I mentioned. Another critical milestone for the project was the 26th of October 2016, when the team under Antonia Moropoulos led the all the works that opened the Holy Tomb. And we concluded the project on the 22nd of March 2017 and delivered it to the communities. So as you see, from the time the agreement was signed to the time we delivered the project was 12 months, which is a pretty good time. A few things about money. The overall funding was 3.7 million euros. And you can see here a breakdown. In addition to the funds that were made available by WMF, we had various other donors, donations in kind by the status quo communities, cash donations by status quo communities, and a very generous donation in kind by Aegean Airlines. Because as you appreciate, a lot of people were flying back and forth from Jerusalem to Athens. Overall, we managed to complete the project within budget, and one of the things that we paid extreme attention to was not to run out of money, because had we run out of money at any stage of the project, it would mean stopping the project and having huge difficulties then from this stoppage of operations. A few things about organizing. You see here, this is a busy picture, and it is busy because there were a lot of people involved. I will start from the top and work my way down. The top box is the owners committee. Basically, this is the committee of the three leaders of the three communities that I mentioned: the Catholic, the Armenian, and the Orthodox. Below it, you see the steering committee, and the steering committee was really the committee that directed the project. There were in total 5 meetings of the steering committee, and they the members of the committee were, in addition to the owners, uh, representatives of the scientific team, representatives of the engineering team, and myself. Now, the steering committee, as you see on the left, has a dotted line to the World Monuments Fund. And this dotted line signifies the participation of the World Monument Fund in all proceedings of the steering committee. Many times, I do not recall how many, but we had more than one representative from the World Monuments Fund in the proceedings of the steering committee. On the right-hand side of the box, you can see the Common Technical Bureau and the Financial Committee. I will explain later what the Common Technical Bureau was. The Financial Committee was a collective body of representatives of the three communities. These representatives were in a capacity of managing finances and money. And this committee had the role of meeting regularly, inspecting and reviewing all financial data of the project, and reporting to the respective leaders of the community. So the job of the committee was to make sure that the money was in order and there was enough of it. If we move to the level below, starting from the left side, we have the scientific team, Professor Moropoulos, Kores, Spirakos, and Georgopoulos. On the right-hand side, we have the construction site manager, Theo Mitropoulos, and we also have the deputy construction site manager, Professor Mouzakis, and the construction and preservation teams. And me in the middle acting as the manager. In this respect, the manager is a rather old-fashioned term. I would prefer to see myself as coordinator of all the parties involved in the project. A few words now about some of the boxes that you see here. The Common Technical Bureau, as I mentioned, is a collective entity that comprises representatives, engineers, architects, art historians of each of the three communities, and they were led by Theodosios Mitropoulos, and we had Osama Hamdan, Carla Benelli, and Irene Batalyan representing the three communities. The construction site team led by Dr. Mitropoulos, and deputizing leader was Professor Mouzakis, was led by Vasilis Zafiris, who was the leading engineer of the team. And there were two teams below, conservators and restorers and masons. In addition, we had a safety advisor, Uri Agame, a very, very critical job, very important for a project like this. A few things about the restorers and masons team. I on purpose put the complete membership of this here because I want you to see that the team that built this was not a huge team, but it was a very efficient, very focused, and very specialized team. And each of the persons you see here, Vasilis Zafiris, George Anastasiadis, George Palamaris, Yannis Andritzopoulos, Chris Theodorakis, Karidis, and Haloftis, they were very, very, very capable and experienced men. And they were able to do a lot over such a short period of time. They were complemented by the conservators team led by Theodor Mavridis and Mrs. Karathanu, and later joined by the very experienced conservator Michael Troulinos, Amalia Troulinou, and Argyro Troulinou, who joined in the last part of the project and made a tremendous contribution. So again, you see that overall the team that put their hands in their project was not a big team. All the administrative aspects of the project, you know, those of you who have worked in projects, they are handled by a project management office, PMO, and these services were offered by the very able Secretariat of the Greek Orthodox Patriarchate, and the leader was Aristakos of Constantina, the Elder Secretary General, who was kind enough to offer all the services of his team, and the relevant, I don't remember what CSS stands for, but this is a secretarial office in the National Technical University of Athens. So thanks to them, and you cannot imagine how much administration was in this project. Thanks to all these people, we were able to carry on all the administration work, a lot of work, and many, many thanks to all of them. Now we come to some of the essence of the project work. Again, those of you who have worked in projects know that from the very beginning, every project has to have a work breakdown structure. And I will give you some highlights here. This is where we start taking a look at the monument and bringing in the work breakdown structure, the tasks organized in a way that reflects the monument. So, for example, we have 13 vertical panels, 2 staircases, 14 columns, 15 layers, 3 zones, and additional elements. And all of these elements that you see marked here are reflected in tasks of the work breakdown structure. Let me give you some examples. Install additional lateral support, repair panels N2 and N3, rebuild panels N4 and 5, WS5 and S4, install retaining structure. Now, you may wonder why we have different words for the tasks on panels N2 and N4, and I will give you an example just so that you appreciate that the words explain something. This is the masonry that we saw when we took out the external stones of the monument. And this is panel N2. Let me just, you see panel N2 at the very top, right in the middle. So we took out the external stones, and what we saw was this. We did the same for N4, which is on the left side of N2. Now let's see what we discovered there. Well, this explains why the intervention on N2 was named repair and the intervention in N4 was named rebuild. And this also, these pictures give you an appreciation of the nature of this project. Unless you discover the real situation, you don't really know what are the challenges ahead of you. And this was something that we had to do continuously. We had to plan, of course, but at the same time, we had to be on the alert that what we were discovering as we progressed in the project might change some of our planning. Just to give you the benefit of the completion of the work, once we rebuilt the N4 masonry, this is the picture. And this, of course, is only an example of our interventions in the monument. I just wanted you to have a picture of how different things could be from one panel to the other, and therefore from one task to another. This gives you a slightly different perspective. This is the facade of the north side. It's a design by Mr. Giannakopoulos. What this shows you is that you have a lot of small and large building elements. So you really had to pay extreme attention to detail in order to carry on with the project work. There was no way that we could misplace one of these little stones or damage one of the big ones. And the situations that we faced can be summarized in these two lines regarding the granularity and the update of the project schedule. From the beginning of the project, approximately July of 2016 to December 2016, we had medium granularity on the tasks. I will explain what this is. And we had a bi-weekly update. Medium granularity means that when you describe tasks that are allocated to the teams, you give the teams the freedom to build a little bit more detail in the task and describe and determine what is the date and the time that they will actually carry it out. So you say this task needs to be carried out in this week. The team decides which day, what time, depending on many factors that they manage by themselves. We had a bi-weekly update based on a progress review, but otherwise the teams were pretty much determining how and when within the week they would carry out their work. Now this changed, and you can see also a typo here, from December 2016 to March, which is the last stretch of the project. We started taking the granularity down to a very fine level, so all the tasks that were allocated to teams were very detailed, and also we were determining who was doing what on a daily basis, not on a weekly basis. The key to the success of the project, in addition to the ability of the builders, the ability of the conservators, the knowledge and the ability of the scientific team, the key to actually bringing all this together was that we were able to meet and communicate on a regular basis, starting with the steering committee, which was essential for us to report progress and receive confirmation that we are doing the right thing and receive also approvals. Then the financial committee, we had to make absolutely sure that the financial representatives of all the communities were happy and that our project was sound from the financial perspective. And finally, and the most crucial in a sense, was that we were able to coordinate when it came to the construction, coordinate all the parties involved. We had a total of 28 construction site meetings during the duration of the project, and the regular participants in these meetings were Professor Moropoulos as the chief supervising scientist, Dr. Mitropoulos as the construction site manager, Professor Mouzakis as the deputy construction site manager, Vasilios Zafiris, the authorized engineer on site, Theodore Mavridis, the team leader of the conservators, George Anastasiadis, the senior stonemason, and later Michael Troulinos, the senior conservator who joined us in January, and myself. These construction site meetings were, I believe, a key success factor in our project, because this is a type of project that has a lot of things that you cannot predict. And the only way that you can deal with unpredictable, unexpected situations is to communicate and understand what every member of the team with a position of responsibility experiences, knows, learns, thinks. And believe me, these were not always easy meetings. We had a lot of difficult decisions to make, and we had a lot of discussions because it was not always clear what we had to do. But our determination to solve problems and solve problems together and arrive at decisions that were espoused and supported by all involved, this, I believe, was the key to our success. This is how we were able to meet the challenges of the project. And as you see, in this committee, we had both the team leader of the conservators, Theodore Mavridis, and the senior stonemason, George Anastasiadis. And I believe that they made a major contribution to solving problems and making the project a success. In closing, I would like to address two things. One, some of the challenges that we had in addition to everything else. And I start with the safety. We spent a lot of time worrying about the access of the pilgrims and the big crowds. And those of you who have been in the Holy Sepulchre know that, well, there can be really big crowds there. And just imagine that we had a construction site and the Holy Edicule was open during the day because the work was carried throughout the night. And we had to give to all these hundreds, sometimes thousands of people, a safe way in and a safe way out. So safety was an extreme concern, a daily concern. Security was also a concern because, as you appreciate, you have a construction site, you have heavy equipment, and it's always an important thing to make sure that you do not run any risks from the security point of view. Working at night made the life of all involved very complicated, a big challenge, especially when you do it continuously, and it's not a matter of working at night 1 week and then switching to a daily routine. And finally, transporting and storing materials, because again, those of you who have visited Jerusalem know that inside the old city, there is no way that you can park or you can drive a big truck. So we had to bring all the goods with trucks at the gate, and then from the gate we had to use some very small vehicles. It was a timely and very complicated operation all the time. And then once the goods arrived at the church, we had to solve the problem of storage, where to store them. Again, a lot of people spent a lot of time and effort, and we were successful in meeting the challenge of storing all the materials. I conclude with a summary of the management approach that we followed in the project. I have already mentioned communication. And I believe that the communication that we were able to practice every day was the key to our success. The second highlight of the approach is transparency. All data about the project were available all the time to all involved. And during the steering committee meetings, all the members of the committee were receiving a report with all the details about the project. Timeliness is another important aspect of our approach, in the sense that we knew that we could not afford to let anything slip. We did not have time. I mean, the margins were very, very, very narrow. We didn't have any buffers. We knew that everything was literally hanging by a thread. So we put a lot of effort in making sure we don't have any slip in our schedule. Effectiveness was also important in the sense that it was not enough to do something, we had to do it well. Because simply we didn't have a chance to do it again. This, please be reminded that we had a very tight time schedule, and also that we knew that by March 2017 we had to complete the project and deliver the church to the communities. Collaboration was another important aspect, and I believe that we were very, very, very lucky, because all three communities, although in the past there had been some differences of view and difficulties in agreement, in this project, all three communities, the Catholics, the Armenians, and the Orthodox, collaborated in a way that enabled our project to proceed without any problems. Ownership and accountability of all involved was also crucial. You have seen that we didn't have a big team. We didn't have tens or hundreds of people working on the project. The team was small. We had experienced people who could own their work and be accountable. So once we assigned the task to a person, we knew that this person was going to carry it through. It is as simple as that. Agility, I already mentioned the example of the two panels, N2 and N4, and you saw that before we took the stones out, there was no way we could know what the situation of what the state of the masonry would be. We had to take the stones out, see the status of the masonry, and decide how we were going to proceed. So we had to have the agility to adjust our approach every week. And again, this ability and this frame of mind was critical in succeeding. Finally, No matter how good you are in all of the above, unless you report everything and you control everything, it is quite possible that things can really go very bad. We were very, very fortunate to have in this area support also from the World Monuments Fund. Yannis Avramidis was working with me and always knew what the situation was. We exchanged views, so they helped us with their experience deliver the project. So I want to thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, I would be very happy to answer them.
We thank you very much, Nicholas, for the excellent presentation and the very robust work in Jerusalem. Are there any questions? Guys, that's the last seminar. If you have questions, you have to proceed. Please feel free, we have time. No question? Chiara Biribich. Have a question for Dr. Manolis? Yeah. Just a moment. Μανώλη, το βλέπεις? Βλέπεις το ερώτημα που έχει για σένα στο chat?
Yes, wait a minute to read this. I couldn't listen to the...
Whoever says a question in the chat, please to answer it.
No, that was some, those was some indicative packages of visualization. This, the ones that I mentioned there. We are using different tools. Can you hear me?
Και το mail της Ψάλτη.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Το στέλνεις στη Ζακουμάκη και τη λες.
Professor Moropoulos, may you mute your microphone?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm doing 3 things.
Yes. We are using different tools for visualization. Okay, despite the libraries of machine learning, let's say, to visualize the results, analytical results, we are using also 3D representation, let's say, visualization tools for cultural heritage. If you want any specific, let's say, question to what exactly we are using, you are free, but those are special software, let's say, that for representing 3D models. Okay. Let me, if I could share my screen. Let me first find this. I'm trying to find this in my computer now. Excuse me for 1 minute.
May I ask a question until the answer for the previous question will be found?
Yes.
So I would like to ask Mr. Moropoulos about the time frame of the project. Was the common agreement that was signed for a year the things that was kind of framed the time for actually performing the project, and that was not the flexible things that you had to do it in a year time?
Nico,
Yes,
are you going to
the
answer?
common agreement was actually the go ahead for the project, and it was made quite clear that we had to finish before Easter of 2017, so that, as you know, Easter celebration is extremely important in Jerusalem for all the Christian communities, and therefore this was the deadline for our project. It was, I don't think it was written anywhere, but it was, the word of honor that was all over the place, and we actually had to do it. It was as simple as that.
No, Nikos, it was written in the historic agreement, and since the historic agreement was signed at the 22nd of March 2016, and the duration foreseen for all the implementation of the project, I mean contracting, funding, preparations, everything, it was foreseen 1 year. The deadline was the 22nd of March 2017, and that was the actual day that we delivered the Holy Edicule to the 3 Christian communities.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there any
Okay,
other question?
yes, I have to answer the previous one.
Yes, please.
The actual software we have used so far for implementing this, it is called 3D Hop. Let me share my screen. I will give you a demonstration of this. Unfortunately, now I'm not on my desktop to give you a demonstration of the platform itself, because I have it there. But now I'm on the 3D Hop side. They have some other, let's say, use cases there, 3D models. We can go to this one, let's say. So we have used this interface so we can visualize a 3D model. There are some utilities here. You can zoom in, zoom out to give different perspective to the light. You can give a location on the item, let's say, and you can add information there. You can measure. And there are some other functionalities that we have added. You can measure from here to there. Sorry. I have to. It's, let's say, 8 centimeters, whatever. And the fact is that we are going to even upgrade this system, because now we have the Respect project, as Professor Moropoulos mentioned in the beginning, and probably we are going either to update this software or proceed to a different one to represent the 3D models and include all of this information we want to have in our models in our databases. The fact is that this is in the final stages of the project, so we don't know yet. It is in 2 years from now, so we don't know yet which is the actual application we will use. But so far we have this.
Okay, there is another question, which is from Pellet, and she's asking, what about the sources of materials for the masonry structures? When we actually repaired the internal masonries of the Edicule, after removing, of course, the slabs, we did use the stones from the original quarries we had already identified by the materials characterization and by the geological investigation in Israel in order to identify the quarries. So we used the proper stones, Slageb or Mizi, according to what was the original building material. And of course, concerning the mortars, we had simulated the ones we designed with metakaolin, with hydraulic properties of 15 megapascal compressive strength for the repair mortars of the masonry structures and 10 megapascal compression strength for the injections, for the grouts injected. We had simulated them to commercial materials, which are very specialized for restoration of monuments and which are produced in Italy, implementing actually our research, common research of NTUA and the University of Venice for compatible repair mortars. Maria Karoglu, there is a question for you from Jill Pellet. Maria, are you in? She's asking, to what extent it possible to ascertain the impact on the site by the pilgrims, especially relative humidity and temperature, and any effects on the structural soundness? Maria, can you answer? No, Maria is out. So I will answer it. That's why we call it rehabilitation. We had to monitor relative humidity and temperature and simulate and then regulate the durability of repair mortars considering these conditions in order to have structural soundness. That's why we decided for the metakaolin as a major source of hydraulic properties to the mortar. Thank you very much, Adi. We have to conclude this series of seminars. I hope we will be able to continue in hands-on work in Jerusalem. Thank you very much. We expect you to the second transdisciplinary multispectral modeling for the cultural heritage preservation, the second international conference, which is going to take place at the 13th to 15th of December in Athens, and where the ones registered might attend the scientific sessions, but all of you might attend the panels, which are designed to be accessible with an open access to the general public. So thank you very much. You are mostly welcome. Good evening. Yes, we will share the link. Just give me 2 minutes. Give me 1-2 minutes, so I will share with you the passcode in order to attend the panels. Thank you. Right now, you can see the conference, and you might see as well the code for attending. So you have the link in the chat as well, and you have the guidance for using the YouTube. Thank you very much, and I hope we will communicate soon. Good evening.